Okay, we are back, and we're back in our pen testing series. And basically, this whole video is about how to use Google. I'm not even kidding. A lot of people in the whole pen testing, ethical hacking, infosec realm, in all honesty, a lot of it is Google and looking stuff up. You know, I know there's technical interviews. So if you go for like a cybersecurity position, right, you go through multiple interviews. You go through, kind of a initial human resources interview after they've looked at your resume, seen your certifications and other things like that, work experience. Then you go through this, soft skills interview, and you go through a technical interview. And a lot of what they say is, they'll give you scenarios. They'll ask you what you would do about this, what you would do about that. And what I've found, and it's the same way that we interview security engineers when we hire them at my day job, is we don't actually care if you know everything about everything. In the realm of cybersecurity, it is impossible to know everything about everything. What they care about, what we care about, is are you able to research and figure out a solution to it? So if someone asks during a technical interview, all right, you've got an Nmap scan, you know that Telnet is an open port, you know that FTP allows anonymous logons, what would be your next steps? And if you don't know anything about Telnet, then honestly say, I don't know enough about Telnet, but I would research it. I would use these search engines and I would figure out what I could. And if you give me a little bit, I'll research it right now and figure out what we could do about it. What would be our next step? What would be our exploit? What would be our attack vector? That's really what it comes down to. So, yes, today I am showing you Google as your best friend on our series regarding hacking Metasploitable. All right, so here in our Obsidian notes, because remember, I use Obsidian, this is the Nmap scan that we did regarding Metasploitable, the Metasploitable virtual machine that we revved up. So, we saved everything into our full nmap scan.txt. We put on, a service version scan to see what version of the services are running on the ports. And we also did a script scan to be able to, see what possible vulnerabilities there were. And right here, we've got FTP. We can see it's running VSFTPD 2.3.4 on port 21, right? And then if we scroll down, look at that. We can see right here, FTP anon, anonymous FTP login allowed. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. Okay. OpenSSH 4.7P1, Debian Ubuntu. We've got Telnet, SMTP, and it's specifically postfix SMTPD, right? So we're getting some detailed information on the services that are running on these ports. Okay, right here, port 80, HTTP, that's the service. Specifically, it is Apache HTTPD 2.2.8. Okay, so right here, Samba, these are actually all possible attack vectors to be able to take over this machine. Now, we set up Metasploitable by Rapid7. Like, this machine is supposed to be vulnerable. We're supposed to be able to practice different attack vectors. But to be honest with you, not every computer system is based in a hybrid model where it hooks up with the cloud and, you've got to figure out different cloud attack vectors. A lot of machines out there. And if you're going to do pen testing or ethical hacking or security assessments, think about doing it in healthcare or think about doing it in just the manufacturing industry. If you're in the US, there are a lot of legacy systems out there that have these different versions. So, yeah, we're gonna hop on the old Google and see what we can find out. All right, so we're on Google now. I've got two monitors up here. You can't see that. So I've got, on my other screen, I've got our Obsidian notes with our Nmap scan on it. But really, first things first, let's just act like we don't know anything, right? So I'm just going to look up what is FTP. And it's that simple. If you don't know what FTP is, if you don't know what Telnet is, if you don't know what any of those services are, just look them up. Okay, it's a file transfer protocol. All right, transfer files between a client and a server over a TCP-based network like the internet. Okay, look, there's a Wikipedia right here. Fortinet's got a thing on what FTP is, right? We've got, whoops, GoDaddy. Yeah, we're not interested in that. But yeah, you can find out information here on what is FTP and just learn about FTP. What is the file transfer protocol? How is it used? How do servers use it? Because oftentimes, like, it's just used to transfer things back and forth between a server. Right now, we just saw that there was FTP. It was using version F or VS. Fuck a duck, red. I'll learn how to talk, I promise. VSFTPD 2.3.4. I totally just cussed in the video. I don't care. VSFTPD 2.3.4. Okay, look right there. It already knows what I want to look up. So we've got that. Let's just look up an exploit. Okay, this is part of our reconnaissance. Look at that. Rapid7 themselves has VSFTPD version 2.3.4 backdoor command execution. So also right here, we had seen the NIST, which I've talked to you guys about before. NIST is a great option for CVEs and looking at vulnerabilities. I actually talked about that in the last video, but let's pull both these up and see what they say. All right, so starting with NIST, if it loads, well, we're going to scrap that because NIST wasn't loading and it had something to do with a host error. So instead, let's look at Rapid7. So we've got Rapid7 VSFTPD version 2.3.4 backdoor command execution. Okay, so let's look at, this module exploits a malicious backdoor that was added to the download archive. Okay, that's great to know. All right, here's the module options. Okay, so what this is showing us is, no thanks, get out of here. Get rid of that. What this is showing us is the actual module that we can use in Metasploit for exploiting this. That's huge. So if we were doing a pen test on this machine, I would highlight this URL. I would, in our notes app, we're going to have a section in Recon that says, possible exploits. That's how I like to do things because it's ideas. And the more you document, the better you're off. And I know I've talked about that in our note-taking episodes, but honest to God, I mean, if you're going back and you're looking at the notes that you took, even just the random stuff, there could be something in there that leads to a chained attack, whether you're working on a pen test, whether you're working on a bug bounty, whatever it is, there are always things that could lead to a successful exploit. Now, I haven't gone into Metasploit with you guys yet. That's actually what I'm planning on the next video, but this is a perfect example of just how Google is literally our best friend. Google or whatever search engine you want to use, we got the service version through our Nmap scan and we just type in, what is the service version? Does it have an exploit? Does it have a vulnerability? Understand FTP. Are there ports open? We're Telnet. Understand Telnet. Understand what SMTP is, which is the simple mail transfer protocol. I mean, you can research anything on the internet to try to find out what you need to know about it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. There's not a quick get. You can't just, always be able to run a Metasploit module, which I'm going to show you again in the next video. But you're also, there's going to be times where you have to go through, let's say, the exploit database online and manually learn how to be able to create an exploit to see if it works. You're going to have to copy the code. You may have to use other things to be able to create a successful exploit. Maybe there are things in the way and you have to figure out, just Googling, how do I get past a web application firewall? How do I get past Windows Defender firewall? How do I break into Ubuntu version 19.08 or whatever version it is? It's literally just looking through, Google and researching is going to be one of the best things you can do. Okay. Now, this is a big deal. This is definitely a way where we're going to be able to get into the machine. Going back to Google, let's see. I mean, let's just do, other versions of that. So, going back to Google, let's look at, let's see, we also had, we had Linux Telnet D was the service version. Let's see what we find. Linux BSD derived telnet service encryption key ID buffer. Okay, let's let's see what Rapid7 has to say about this. This module exploits a buffer overflow in the encryption option handler. Okay, most Linux distributions use netkit derived telnet daemons, and we know that this is on a Linux machine because of the recon that we did, right? So yeah, this is a big deal, and this is again right here. There's a Metasploit module. That's great. That makes it so easy on us. There are a lot of exploits that have been written by other people, and that's also a thing to understand. You don't need to be somebody who develops, exploits. You really don't. If you're doing a pen test, there's a lot of legacy systems and things out there that are open that, other people have done. It's your job to research these vulnerabilities, understand them, understand these services, and then understand, okay, how do we fix this? Because that's something that you're going to have to include in your pen test report. So if you put, how do we fix this? Or if you put in your pen test report, I found this vulnerability, you're going to have to put in what's the remediation. We recently did a pen test on a device, like a physical device. And, what I can share is that it seems silly, but one of the findings that we had, which is a security vulnerability, we had to talk to them about how we were able to just physically pick a lock. And so we had to put in there, like, you need to get, you need to get a different lock mechanism. And we just added it in there. So that's something to know, is like, you have to be able to include remediations as well. So it's important to understand these technologies and understand, how they can be used. All right, so we're back here in our notes app. I created another note that's possible exploits, right? Oh, you know what? I'm going to move this into the Metasploit. There we go. Because we're in the Metasploitable directory, and I'm going to put in here, hey, VSF TPD version 2.3.4 on port. Let's see, what port was it on? Let's go back over here. On port 21. And I'm going to make the note, what is it called? It's called, oh, shoot, caps lock, damn it. See, I told you guys you're going to see every screw up. Backdoor command execute, son of a execution. Damn it. All right. It's all right. And I'm going to put in here that there's a possible module to use in Metasploit. And Metasploit is a hacking like attack framework that's actually free. The Metasploit framework is free and it's extremely powerful. It is extremely powerful. And I'm gonna put the what the Metasploit module is, because we visited Rapid7's website. So the module is exploit Unix FTP VSFTPD _234 _backdoor. And that's important. Okay. That's the module that we want to use. And then I'm also going to put the reference here. Okay. The more references you can have, the better, because we can always go back and reference it and look at it. So there we go. And we can do that for, a lot of different, all these different services that we looked at, right? And that's literally what it is just researching these services, understanding how they work. Right there, I can put in there, FTP is a file transfer protocol for sending and receiving files from with a system. This is not grammatically correct. But there you go. And that's literally the gist of it. This doesn't need to be a super long video. I just want all of you to understand how to research things, look them up. It is simple. You don't need to know everything. Be willing to research, what is FTP? What is this version? Is there an exploit on it? And just document everything and see what you find. This is an easy one, because we found an exploit, but there may not be, an exploit out there. But if we understand how the documentation works, we may understand. And that's another thing too. If you've ever done, networking, especially network security, you understand that when a network device comes through, a new device is set up, typically there are default credentials to be able to set up that network device. There's also default credentials when you set up Apache or Nginx or any other type of service that runs on different computers and servers. A lot of times administrators and even, people that just set up their own routers, they do not change the default credentials to be able to log into those panels, to be able to log into those services, right? So it is very possible that, this system could be running Apache and the default credentials were never changed. We can look through the Apache documentation, find out if the default credentials are something like admin and then password is admin, and see if we can log into the admin portal doing that. And that is literally like a huge finding. That is a huge finding. It's also a huge bug bounty. So things like that. I highly recommend just research everything. Always be willing to research, learn, and take notes, because that will help you with further attacks, further exploits, and whatnot. So that's it. That's all I got for you. Have fun. Next up, we're going to be talking about what is Metasploit, how does it work, and just diving into that deep.